Velkommen til Boktips, Cappelen Dam sin webcast, der jeg i dag sitter med en verdenssensasjon. Paula Hawkins hadde skrevet bøker før, romantiske komedier, og så i 2015 så kom altså boken Piken på toget ut. Og den ble altså solgt i bøtter og spann, totalt 23 millioner, siden han blitt filmatisert. Og nå kommer altså Paula Hawkins med den tredje boken, verdenspremiere, altså han kommer ut overalt i hele verden. Den heter altså Langsom ild, og jeg blir nå altså å få kjøpt i norske bokhandler. Welcome so much, Paula. It's so nice to see you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Is this an exciting day for you?
Yes, it is. There's always a very long, quite anxious time that happens between finishing the book and the actual publication. So it's a great relief when you're actually finally here and that you can get the book into readers' hands at last.
And you've been sitting in lockdown, as we all have been, in Edinburgh right now. And are you now in Edinburgh or back in London, or where are you?
I'm back in London.
Yeah.
I'm back in London at the moment. Yeah. Yes, to do a few work things. But yes, most of lockdown I've been up in Scotland and Edinburgh.
Also, this book is back in London.
Yes.
The girl on the train, we have to talk a little bit about that book also, because of course a lot of Norwegians read it when it came out, and probably a lot of Norwegians also saw the movie when it was out. When I read this book, I thought there are some similarities and something with the tone, and also that it's set back in London. Is it?
There are similarities. There are certain themes that I think recur a lot in my work. I always tend to write about women. I tend to write about women who perhaps don't necessarily fit very well in society, or for some reason are judged in a particular way. That was definitely the case with Rachel and the girl on the train, and is definitely the case with my characters Laura and Miriam in this new novel, A Slow Fire Burning. It's the setting, it is London, but it's a different kind of London. So The Girl on the Train was very suburban, whereas this book takes place on the Regent's Canal, which is actually very close to where I am now. So it's right in the heart of London, but it's a quite strange area. There's little houseboats on the canal, and then these very grand Victorian houses. There's also quite a lot of social housing. So it's a very mixed area. So there are definite similarities, but I think it's also quite there's also lots of differences too.
But you can, I mean, people are drinking here as well, having bad histories, a lot of anxieties, things growing up, feeling outside. And I know that you have told in interviews as well, you grew up in Zimbabwe, and you have told in interviews that when you came to England in the 80s, it took some years before you could actually feel inside the society. Is that something you bring with you, you think?
Yes, definitely. I do tend to write about outsiders, all my characters. They don't tend to be happy, well-adjusted people with happy families and good jobs. They tend to be quite people who are sort of existing on the margins of society, who don't quite fit. So, and I'm interested in outsiders, and I think that partly does come from some of my experiences in earlier life. So yes, as you said, I moved from from Zimbabwe to London when I was 17, and it was a bit of a culture shock. It took me a while to make friends in England. It took me a while to adjust to a very different pace of life. So I had that sense of, for quite a long time, of being on the outside looking in, of wanting to be part of something that I felt maybe somewhat excluded from. And I think it also very much developed that eye for like watching what other people were doing all the time, peering into people's houses and wondering what was going on. So it definitely had a strong impact on the way I write now.
And that is, I mean, there is a similarity between Girl on the Train, where there is actually a girl sitting, or a woman sitting on the train, looking into other people's houses and see one specific couple there, and that is the crux where everything starts. And also in this book, people are looking in and seeing things, watching other people, what they're doing.
Yeah, because and again, that really comes from me. So when I was thinking about this novel, when I was first starting, I was doing a lot of walking on the canal, and there are all these houseboats, and I'd be sort of peering in a bit, because some of them are very beautiful and perfectly painted, and they look gorgeous, and they look like someone's home. And some of them are sort of dirty and a bit sinking into the water. And I just did have that sense of wondering what's inside there. You kind of get the feeling with some of those boats that there could be anything inside. There could be all sorts of horrible things. There could be a body. And that's kind of how my mind started working. So yes, again, you have this sense of people watching each other, people judging each other, people making assumptions about each other. And it's something I think we all do all the time. And I think that's what's, that's what's sort of compelling about this sort of book, is meeting someone, making a judgment, and then slowly unpicking what is actually going on, where they come from, how they arrived at this point.
And also, I mean, by the canal, it's also fluid, because people come in there and they leave again.
Yes.
But this is actually this woman, Miriam. She lives in one of these nice little houses where you could see plants in the windows. And but this woman, she's not what you somehow, when you look in through the window, you can see someone who's like building her home, but she has a hard character.
Absolutely. Miriam is, she's one of those people I was just talking about, where you think you think you get her when you see her, like maybe a bit of a hippie, lives on a boat. She's a bit overweight. She's a bit sort of looking through her curtains and judging other people. But, she works in a bookshop. She's a nice enough lady, just a bit weird. But then we start to discover that Miriam actually has quite a past. She's had a terrible trauma in her young life, and she's bearing a grudge. And she's someone who has very strong ideas about things and very strong views, and is quite determined to change her situation.
Because this slow fire burning, as it's called in English, is it's something we can have inside us, this revenge, this lust for revenge. Isn't that what you're writing about? But it has a double meaning, because slow fire burning is also something else.
Yeah, so it refers to two things. Yes, as you said, it refers to the thing that's inside us that is burning away, say a lust for revenge, or maybe guilt or shame, or whatever that thing is, something that can eat us from the inside. And I really liked this title because I'd come across an article in a I think it was on the internet, which was talking about how old books start to degrade. The paper starts to become brittle and to crumble away. And that's because of the acid within the paper, which very gradually over time starts to eat away at it. So it has something within it which is destroying it. And to me, that seemed like a very good metaphor for what was happening in this book, what was happening to these characters who were all carrying something inside them that is slowly eating away at them.
And that is, do you think you have some slow fire burning within you?
I mean, I'm sure we all have something that has the potential to do us harm. But it's a question of how we deal with that thing, whether we respond to it well, whether in this book you have a character like Miriam who is set on revenge. You have another character, Carla, who's tried all her life to forgive rather than to take vengeance. I guess we all have something, some pain in our past, or some maybe sense of injustice. And sort of the question the novel is asking is, what would you do if you got a chance to take revenge on someone or to right a wrong? Would you take it? How far would you go? Who would you betray? It's all those kinds of questions. So I think we all have the potential, but I don't think we all are self-destructing right now.
But let's stop a minute with Carla, because I think she is, I read someone called her snooty. I was wondering if you can translate that in a way that Norwegian can understand. Do you think she's snooty?
She's a bit snooty. So snooty means she's a bit of a snob. She maybe looks down on other people. She is, I guess she's a bit sort of upper middle class. I think the thing with Carla is, though, she presents to the world as a bit snooty because, she's got her nose in the air and she's attractive and she's got a good haircut and good clothes and everything. But actually what we find out a bit about Carla is it's a front. She's presenting something because she also has something terrible that happened to her. And so she comes to the world with a certain facade, a mask. And that mask is a bit snooty. But maybe that's not all there is to her character.
And in that sense, she is the opposite of Laura.
Oh, yes. So Laura presents very differently. Laura is a younger person who had a car accident, which has left her with some issues. She's got a limp, but she also had a brain injury, which means that she has disinhibition. So she doesn't necessarily always think about what she's going to say. She reacts. She can lose her temper very fast. She's, yes, the polar opposite of Carla. Her heart is on her sleeve. She says things that she shouldn't say, but she's got a really good heart. She just doesn't have a filter. She has no mask. So she's kind of the opposite of Carla.
And of course, to be blamed for being the murderer with a bigger heart on your sleeve is quite a hard thing for a young girl with a traumatic background.
Indeed. Yes. So Laura is the chief suspect in a murder that happens at the canal. A body is found on a boat, a body of a young man. And Laura has a sort of relationship with this young man, and she is seen with blood on her. So things do not look good for Laura at the beginning of this novel. But again, she's a character that we find out that she's got a history of some violent acts. So it takes us a while to get under Laura's skin.
I've looked into what you normally answer when you're asked about. Recently you were interviewed by Guardian about your cultural favorites, and I see that women pop up, and women are also very much in vogue in your novels. Why is that, and how do you think about this female way of going about in thrillers?
Well, I think, it's a natural thing. I guess we write about ourselves, we write about people like us to some degree. I am interested in women's lives, in the way that women are judged, in the way women judge each other, in women's place in society. Particularly always interested in women who maybe don't fit who don't meet society's expectations in terms of perhaps not pretty, pleasing, likable, kind, not mothers, not married. There are all sorts of women who maybe don't quite fit in or don't meet society's expectations. I'm always interested in how that affects you, how that means you carry on your life. And yes, things have changed a lot. We don't expect everyone to be a mother anymore, but there's still a level of judgment and still questions that are asked. So that really interests me. And I think, yes, I'm also interested in other writers who deal with these kind of issues, artists who deal with these kind of issues around things like motherhood and violence against women, domestic violence, those kind of things. It's one of my lifelong fascinations.
Passions?
Yes, fascinations. Yes.
Yeah. And also, you have a background as journalist, and in The Girl on the Train, you dug into what happens actually when you drink too much and get a blackout. And here it is also what happens to you when you're injured in a way that you really lose you get another personality. And these twists, when we have that in our minds, that is also kind of creating this thriller feeling because you don't have a real grip on yourself.
Yes, absolutely. That I'm writing about characters who, with Rachel, it was alcoholism. With Laura, it's this tendency to not be fully emotionally in control all the time. What does that mean for you as you negotiate your day-to-day life? What does that mean for you if you get into trouble? I'm looking at people who face, very difficult challenges, and that's where the conflict and the drama and the twists come out of. I think from looking at characters who are in lots of ways very ordinary. They live in ordinary places. They're not spies. They're not in gangs. They're not, they're just ordinary people. But something has gone wrong. Yeah. Something is not quite right with them, or they have some challenge that others might not appreciate. And that's where the conflict and the drama comes from. For
now, we have the snooty Carla. We have Miriam on the boat, who is like, she's a person you wouldn't love when you saw the first time, I guess.
No.
And then you have Laura. And then you have two other women here. It's Angela and Irene.
Angela and Irene, yeah. So we have Angela, who is Carla's sister, who we actually don't meet ever in the book because we only see her through flashback because she's passed away. She's died before the book opens. Angela is somebody who had a very troubled life. So we only get to see her through Carla's recollections of her, which are not great. And the other person whose eyes we see Angela through is Irene, who was her next door neighbour. Who's an older lady. She's 80. And Irene was very, very fond of Angela. Irene loved Angela. Despite all her problems, she could see the good in her. And Irene is one of those, she's a wonderful character. I love
me too.
Irene. She's, that's great. She's very open and she's interested in things and she's a great reader. She loves books. She and Angela were always like sharing books and they like, reading novels together. So, and she's also...
Can I say something here?
Yes.
I just recognized that you put in here that one of them gives the other the book The Hare with an Amber Eye.
Oh, yes.
Which is one of my favorites.
Ah.
And I thought, why did you do that in a thriller?
I can't... it's a beautiful book. I think it's the kind of book that Irene would give someone for Christmas. It's it's about family and love and lots of and art and lots of interesting things. I think it's the sort of book she might like. But there's a few novels that I've dropped into the book that that Irene and Angela both read. I think there's an Ian McEwan, there's a Cormac McCarthy. So there's some crime novels in there as well. Barbara Vine, they both like. So we get to know Angela in a slightly different way because we never sadly meet her. But we see her through Irene's eyes. And Irene is also recently developed a friendship with Laura, who's much, much younger than her. But I think it's a sign of what they are like as people, that they can like form these relationships over many generations and that's fine. They still see eye to eye.
Yeah, because there is this female friendship here, but there is also this sister. The friends become even much more close to each other than actually the sisters. And there is a reason for that,
and I think that's
here.
Yes, there is. There's, which I won't go into all of that because
we shouldn't spoil anything.
It's part of the plot. But I do think, that's another thing I think I write about is how sometimes family relationships, and there's a lot of that in this book, family relationships don't work out very well, and sometimes you have to kind of build your own family with your friendships instead. So that's very much the case with Laura, who's been let down terribly by her parents, who are just not very good at parenting. So she's having to kind of like make her own family. And so Irene is one of the people who she's become close to. And we talked about sort of Carla and Angela's relationship is very difficult. So Carla, she's sort of left alone on her own, although she has her ex-husband, who she still has a kind of slightly strange relationship.
That is also interesting.
She still loves him. Yes, she's separated, in fact, divorced from her husband, but she does still love him, and they can't quite sort of break the bonds between them. So that's another, slightly off-kilter relationship.
And there is also this story. It's about writing and reading. This novel, it's of course this big family drama. There is this murder mystery going on, and it is about writing. And there also it's slow fire burning, I would say.
Yes, absolutely. So the ex-husband I just referred to, Carla's ex-husband, Theo, is a writer. He's a novelist. He's had one very successful book and then struggled to find he's had writer's block and he's not been able to write. So he ends up writing a crime novel under a pseudonym, which kind of does okay, but has brought him some other problems at the same time. But yes, I've obviously, because of the way my life has been the last 5-6 years since The Girl on the Train, I've been thinking very much all the time about what it is to be a writer, what it is to be read and reviewed and published, and that whole relationship that you have between writers and readers. So I wanted to put some of that in the book. I wanted to put some of my ideas about what it is to write crime, what it is to write good crime, and also, that the sort of notions of where our ideas come from, and whether when an idea can belong to you and when somebody can take it from you, because I think that's interesting too. I'm interested in storytelling, how we tell stories about ourselves, but also how we tell other people's stories, and whether we have the right to tell other people's stories. So there's that's a kind of another strand of the novel that's going on.
Yeah. And what can you say about it? Because what you came into publicity with Girl on the Train, and it was not quite expected, was it?
No.
A little bit shocking? Or
yes, absolutely, because no one expects a novel to become huge, such a big phenomenon as The Girl on the Train was. So it was wonderful, it was really exciting, but it's also quite daunting, and you start to feel all these different pressures on you, and people analyze what you do very closely, and that can be quite difficult.
Did you feel that?
Oh yes,
in
absolutely.
What way?
My second novel, Into the Water, was not that well received critically. I had a lot of really, quite bad reviews. So that was that's a very painful experience for a writer.
Yeah.
And it's very exposing because it's done in public. You're being criticized in public. So I came out of that experience feeling a bit bruised and beaten up. So I think some of those feelings kind of went into the book a bit. But, that's part of what being a writer is. And if you do have a big success, then it's inevitable that people will scrutinize you a bit more. So it's just part of the whole process.
And I guess you've never thought about going back to journalism.
No, no. To be honest, this fiction suits me much better. Yeah. I'm much happier making up stories than I am trying to get the truth out of people.
Recently, the film, The Girl on the Train, was out in Bollywood.
Yes, it was.
Have you seen that version?
It's very different. I have. Yeah. It's very different.
Yeah.
It's actually set in London, unlike the American.
Yes, because that was something
film, which was set in.
Because that was set in New York, and it seems as if you thought that was not totally as what you wanted it to be, or.
It's always a bit tricky with film adaptations, but I do think that when you sell your rights to somebody else to make your movie, you've got to accept that is their interpretation now. It's not yours anymore. They are taking your material and they're making something different with it. And I thought the movie was really good, really interesting. I know a lot of people were disappointed that it wasn't set in London and it wasn't what they had pictured in their minds. But frankly, it's never going to be exactly what you've pictured in your mind. So the Bollywood version has quite a different storyline. So they've changed quite a lot of it. But, again, it's somebody else's interpretation. It's quite fun to see different versions. There was a theatrical version only in England, in the UK, which was another twist on it. So it's great that so many people have taken it and made their own of it. The novel is still there. The book is still there. No one's done anything with it. If you want to go back to the book, you can go back to the book. But it's from my point of view, it's really interesting to see other people's. Have you started thinking about who would you have to play? Who would you want to see in as Laura, for instance, in Slow Fire Burning? I can't. I don't tend to fantasy cast in my head, and even if I did, I would never say so publicly who I wanted, because what then happens is when they cast someone different, then everyone will go, oh, you were disappointed, aren't you? So it's good politics to never say. Thank you very much, Paula Hawkins. It has been a great joy to talk to you about this book. And congratulations again and good luck. Thank you so much. It's been lovely to talk to you.